All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 803 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. It's been a great weekend for both teams. I mean, you beat both your rivals. You know, you do it in the city of Atlanta. Georgia Southern actually, played for something, bringing home the Commissioner Cup, which, is growing on me a little bit. And for the Falcons to beat their arch rivals at home once again in dramatic fashion, you just can't beat that. Excellent, excellent, excellent weekend of football. If you're a Georgia Southern or Atlanta Falcons football fan, we're going to talk about both of these teams going forward. Georgia Southern has a bye, so we're going to kind of keep it short on that, let these guys get some rest, and we'll get back to them. But we want to talk a little bit more about the Falcons coming up in this episode. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, YouTube podcasts as well. You can follow me on X or Twitter at VF Baller. And over there, I just talk about things that don't necessarily make it to the YouTube or the Rumble's airwaves or the view waves or whatever you want to call it. And we just try to celebrate both teams. And this is a good time to celebrate. Both teams, went through their ups and downs throughout the beginning of the season, but look like both teams are catching on pretty well. And we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Look, the Georgia Southern Eagles, real quick, going to get through this team really quick, played Georgia State. And Georgia State, I said this earlier last week, that this team, Georgia State, is not necessarily a pushover. They're a fairly, decent team. They look pretty good. They're very identical to what type of, personnel we have. And I thought it was going to be a very close game. It could have went either way. So I was more of the impression like Georgia Southern just has to execute. They don't have to do anything special. They just have to play their game. I don't think they was going to be able to really dominate like we thought that Georgia Southern could in a few years past, because Georgia State actually built up a decent team. Even last year, the team was pretty decent. And for them to even lose 44-27 last year was kind of shocking. I thought they was going to put up a bigger fight, but Georgia Southern, at the power of Paulson, made it happen. So we go up to Atlanta. We go to Turner Field. I like to call it Turner Field, but it's Park Center or Center Park or something like that. It's Turner Field in my book. Go to Turner Field, play them in their house, and they had a pretty decent crowd. I'm actually surprised that they're actually getting people to come to their games. And this is what I'm talking about. That program is slowly building. It's, Del McGee and everybody under his umbrella making it happen. And we go there and we basically punch him in the mouth. Outside of a few mistakes we did, Josh Dallas, he had the fumble inside the 5, outside of that, it was pretty much a flawless game. And we got 3 turnovers. We was able to run the ball well. We passed the ball well. The defense held up pretty good. Like I said, we gave them 14 points basically on, a fumble, a couple of turnovers. I think it was a couple of turnovers on one of them. But nevertheless, we were able to win this game 38-21. And to see once again that something that I just overlooked, Georgia Southern did bring home some hardware. And this is what Georgia Southern's always been about. Ever since that this team's been resurrected back in the 80s, when a trophy's on the line, we go out there and try our best, and more times than not, we get that trophy. Whether it be an FCS or 1AA national title, couple of bowl wins, I think we got 3 bowl wins on our belt, a Sun Belt title, and now the first ever Commissioner Cup. This is what we're about. We're about bringing home trophies. Whatever we're competing for, we try to get it. And it looks really good. Thinking back on it now, it kind of was overlooked because I still think this is a modern day hate, rivalry. But it's Georgia grown rivalry, and they're trying to get it to stick, and they're trying to make it something what it is. And I feel at the end of the day, it's going to catch on. The actual trophy itself is grown on to me because I don't want to see us walk out of a stadium without a trophy. So, but I still look at it as modern day hate. Nevertheless, we're looking good right now. Georgia Southern wins once again, 38-21. And coming on to the season after 5 games, 3-2, looking at everything that has happened so far, the Ole Miss game, the Boise game, I think we came out a little bit better because a lot of people thought that we was going to lose to Nevada as well. So coming out 3-2 after 5 games, we're looking pretty good. First win as in conference play. You really can't ask for more than what we, based on the competition we was up against. And now we're going to Marshall. Well, Marshall coming to us. We have a whole bye week to worry about that. So give these kids a rest. Excellent way to start the season, all things considered. Can I ask for, you could ask for better if we did at least beat Boise. I mean, that would have been awesome. Ole Miss, I mean, we weren't going to beat Ole Miss. And speaking of Ole Miss, shout out to Kentucky, man. They end up making it happen. I mean, wish we could have, but nevertheless, we can't get everything we want right. But 3-2, going into the bye, get these guys rested and going to the rest of Sunbelt play. Pretty good. They're sitting pretty good right now. Now, let's talk about these Falcons. They got it done. They beat the New Orleans Saints. 26-24. Younghoe Koo, 58-yarder. Look, the game wasn't pretty offensively. I mean, it was. I mean, we did move the ball pretty well. And a lot of people are talking about the whole Kyle Pitts situation. I get it. I understand. I'm not going to sit here and try to defend it because I would like to get Kyle Pitts some touches. But I think in this game, at least, I don't know if the defense was on to him and he couldn't get open or he couldn't get any separation. I don't know. I'm not going to get into all of that, but I would like to see Kyle Pitts get more touches. Other than that, everything else in the game was actually pretty good. I mean, we got the pick six, we got the fumble in the end zone that we got that. The running game actually looked good. The passing game was not that bad. The interception that Kirk Cousins threw, you can blame it on him. It was I think it was a lot of anticipation instead of just a bad throw. But, the receiver fell down. But I think he was kind of, I think he was guided to the ground. I'll just leave that at that. But other than that, the team played very well. And I think the Falcons are going to continue to get better as the week goes on. I think the defense itself are playing very good. Hopefully Troy Anderson is continue to be able to rehab. I know there's going to be a quick turnaround with them playing against the Buccaneers coming up. I don't know. He may be available. That's going to be a little tough. But nevertheless, the team as a whole is playing very good. And this is going to be a pretty big game. It's somewhat of a rivalry. Is for the division lead. And the Falcons are at home, so that helps. But the Buccaneers are pretty good. Let's get back to this game. The Saints came in with a game plan, basically not to throw around Jesse Bates and not to throw around Justin Simmons. They did not want any parts of that. They tried their best not to throw anywhere near them. There was a lot of screens on the outside, and they kept running that until it started to get stopped. And shout out to the Alford, shout out to the Mike Hughes. Those guys kind of clamped down at the end of the day. I don't know what the status of AJ Terrell is. Nobody's really talking about it. But I think he came back in the game, but he didn't look too good after one of those plays on the outside. But he was able to walk off on his own, but I don't know the status of that. But nevertheless, he should be okay, hopefully. And I just think the team as a whole is playing pretty good ball. Even with the loss to the Chiefs, they played pretty good ball. And if they continue to play at that level, holding teams down to the bend don't break status, and if this offense can make some noise outside of what they did yesterday, I want to see a little bit more. I think this team will be fine. Will they? Looking at the NFC right now, the Eagles don't look that strong. We got one up on the Eagles. The 49ers still look good. The Lions, So we're right. To be honest, we're right in the mix of things. There's not that many teams that's looking like elite right now in the NFC. So we're just right there. All we need to do is execute our game plan, make sure that we run the ball more, because you got two running backs that can get the ball down the field if you let them run the ball, especially Tyler Algier. I mean, what can you say about him? Give him more touches, and that will open up the passing game. Even with Bijan Robinson, it'll open up the passing game for him too, because he can catch downfield and make some things happen. So I don't have any worries about the team overall outside of regular injuries. I just think at the end of the day, we will probably have a situation where we're just going to have to make sure that we execute. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We can't be in a situation where we're trailing games, or be in a situation where the offense is not living up to the defensive standard, because the defense is playing fine. Matt Judon tipped the ball in the air. Troy Anderson had the pick. We also had D Alford? I think it was D Alford had the sack. You got guys in the secondary. Teams are scared to throw on this team because of our secondary. We're in a good spot. So at the end of the day, and I'm going to close out with this, the Falcons are in really good position. If they can get over this next game when they play the Buccaneers, that's going to tell you a lot, because if they get that win and be 3-2 and a lead of the division and have a semi-bye week where they have a long week to get their bearings on, they could make a decent run, because all intents and purposes, at 2-2, you kind of survived the gauntlet of the first part of the season. You beat the Eagles, you almost beat the Chiefs, even though that's a whole different situation. But all in all, you walk away from this 2-2, and possibly after 5 games, you'd be 3-2. There was a situation where we thought that this team could have been 1-3 or 0-4 at some point, especially after the Steelers game. So I think they're in good shape right now. If they can get past this Buccaneers team and get the win on Thursday night, that would set them up really good for a pretty decent run, to be honest. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but looking at but if I can see the schedule, I don't think it's that much of a concern if the Falcons play their game, just like Georgia Southern. After what they've done, they're 3-2 right now. The rest of their schedule looks pretty good. James Madison is that team that looks kind of rough, but we played them at home, so they're in the driver's seat of a pretty good road that they can navigate through. So hopefully they can do that, both teams. So if you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Georgia Southern brings home the trophy and beat Georgia State. The Falcons get one on their division rival. Younghoe with a 58-yard field goal. And both teams are in the driver's seat. They don't have to worry about too much but play their game. And that's all you can ask for out of these teams. So I'm going to get up out of here. Like, share, subscribe. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Rumble. I'm also on X at VF Baller. And I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, y'all, I'm out. Peace.